Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another meta tech discussion. This time, I want to talk about a card that has been getting a lot of traction lately. A lot of people have been talking about it. It's actually shot up in price in the market. It's Trio to Danger's Bergamo. And I think for the longest time, they were kind of sitting around the $5, $6 range, but now a lot of listings go for like 11, 12, up to $16. So this card is gaining a lot of traction. I kind of want to talk about why, talk about its applications in the future, things like that. So, if you guys don't know, the deck list that won ARG Boston was ran by Robert Russo. He used the Sun Goku leader, Super Saiyan 3 Goku leader, but he didn't play the red blue aggro version. He played a mono blue control version. So what this tried to do was limit the opponent's options, especially if they're playing aggro. They wanted to kind of control their attacks with negates, playing a whole lot of defense, things like that, with the mono blue version, and then kind of finishing off with the big Beerus that makes your opponent discard or erase from their field anything of a total cost of 6. The Universe 7 Beerus from the Tournament of Power. So what this leader allows you to do if you're trying to play a control variant is ramp up to your control cards quicker. A lot of the control cards, especially like the blue-green ones that pop things or restrict your opponent from doing certain things, are 4, 5, and 6 drops. So this leader is really good at kind of getting you there to where you need to be. So now we'll talk about the card of the topic of discussion, the Trio to Danger's Bergamo. So 4-drop blue, requires 3 blue, permanent. If this card's in rest mode, your opponent's battle cards can only attack this card. So that's the strongest effect it has in terms of staving off these red-blue aggro decks. Because if this card's on your field in rest mode, and for the Son Goku leader, it's a turn 3 play, not a turn 4 play, your opponent cannot swing your life with all their 1-drop attackers or their Scientist Foos or what have you. They have to attack this card. And the reason this card was so good was because spot removal was not prevalent at all in the meta at that time when ARG Boston was coming up. No one was really testing for spot removal because everyone just thought it was going to be red-blue mirror matches, that kind of thing, with some splashes of apes, things like that. So that's why this card was able to catch a lot of people off guard. Nobody was really playing spot removal. Many people weren't even siding it. And if they were playing like Mass Sand maybe, just in case of the random Veggie matchup. But this card ended up working out really, really well. And the thing is, like, yeah, this card, if you're playing a mono blue control deck and expecting to go into a red-blue format where like aggro is really prevalent, this card will definitely steal you game ones because they're not expecting it and they're not maining spot removal. They're not even maining the Dimensional Banisher Fu or the Mass Sand to get rid of this. So the continued part of the effect, when Lavender and Basil are in the field, it's all your Trio to Danger game barrier, unimportant. You're not going to be playing the rest of the Trio to Danger package. And then this is another very good part of the effect. When this card is attacked, it gains 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So in a deck that's not playing spot removal, they're going to try to get over it by punching it, most likely, if they feel they need to. So they'll attack it. It's auto trigger to gain 5k, and it's even harder for them to kill if they're trying to kill it solely by an aggro-based strategy of attacking it. So, and if they can get up to bigger numbers like 30, 35, 40k, that's what you have your Raging Spirits on Gohans for, your Unbreakable Spirits on Gokus, and your super combos, all to defend this guy, because he basically becomes your win condition against these decks, especially in game 1, like I said, when they don't have removal in the sideboard. And the Sun Goku leader, the Super Saiyan 3 Sun Goku leader, is really, really good at enabling your defensive plays with your Raging Spirits, with your Unbreakables, so that you can get this guy to survive and your opponent can't do anything. And then once you have 2 on the board, it sets up a soft lock where your opponent cannot attack either one. And again, if they don't have spot removal, they can only attack your leader with their own leader, and most often that's not going to put enough pressure on to win them the game unless they can combo like a double strike Champa or something into it. So yeah, a lot of people, like, I think we saw Anthony Hernandez in the finals of ARG Boston literally just scoop to double Bergamo on board because he just could not out it. So yeah, this is a card that, like I said, will steal you game ones if your opponent's not playing removal in the main board, and if they're not siding it, all the better to you. You can kind of mess around with it in games 2 and 3. You can leave it in if you don't expect your opponent to be playing removal. You can side it out game 2, and then if your opponent puts in removal, it may be for no actual reason except to remove your bigger bombs. And if you don't see the removal in game 2, you can side it back in game 3 against these red-blue aggro decks. And even the monkey matchup is not too bad in, because their monkeys can only attack this guy, and it already matches a monkey 20 for 20, and then he gets a 5k on top of that. So they have to combo a 5 or 10k into killing this thing. If they combo a 10k, which is probably what you want them to do, you just go super combo Raging Spirits on Gohan or Unbreakable, get up to 35k, and then their monkey attack is just for nothing. So really, really good. But now the thing is, if people do start to anticipate this more, removal is going to become more and more prevalent because they're not going to want to lose this card. So does that mean that this card is a one-time gimmick that's going to work out well, or does that mean this card actually has a place in the future? Well, maybe it can move to the sideboard and come in against decks that you don't think are playing spot removal. Maybe it stays in as a game 1 card to mind game your opponent, and then they are forced to put in spot removal and you side this out. But I want to talk about a new card that's coming out, the awe-inspiring Intimidator Super Saiyan Blue Vegeto. This card actually solves your problem of spot removal kind of defeating your win condition. So let's read what this card does. So once again, a 4-drop in the Son Goku leader deck. It's going to be a turn 3 play. So 1 blue only. That's actually kind of interesting. It only requires 1 blue. I think this would predominantly be played in blue decks, but if your deck's only splashing blue and it can make it turn 4, this is actually still a pretty viable thing to play. So if your leader card is blue and this card's in rest mode, this card gains barrier and your opponent's cards can't attack your leader card. So there's a couple different things than the Bergamo does. So if your leader's blue, just like the Bergamo deck is played in, this card gains barrier. So it answers your problem of spot removal, trying to get rid of this thing. And neither your opponent's battle cards or their leader card can attack your leader card. Unlike Bergamo, that only prevents your opponent's battle cards from attacking the leader. So this thing just becomes a total brick wall. The kind of smaller issues are your leader is required to be blue, so you can't really splash this in a different deck, but I don't really think you can potentially splash in Bergamo either, just because it requires a 3 blue investment. So I think any deck you're playing is going to be predominantly blue, probably running a blue leader. So that's not too much of an issue. And it has an added effect of if you have Fire More Energy, draw 1 card when you play it. So that's kind of just a nice little bonus. But the other big thing is this card will not gain 5k every single time it's attacked. So your opponent, if they decide to just come at this thing with an onslaught, they can potentially get over it easier than they can Bergamo. So the thing is, like, I think if you're expecting more spot removal but still need that kind of bodyguard to prevent your opponent from attacking, the awe-inspiring Vegeto is just going to be better because it has barrier and it denies spot removal. And if you're expecting a format where it's more aggro prevalent, your opponent's not really going to be playing spot removal in the main board, at least, maybe not even the sideboard if it's not, you know, necessary for the meta at that point, Bergamo might just be strictly better just because it gains 5k every single time your opponent attacks it, and that's not once per turn. So your opponent's going to keep attacking it. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to be harder for them to get over. Plus you have your defensive capabilities to keep it alive, but you also have that for your Vegeto as well. So I think that Bergamo is a little more easy to adapt to because it's kind of simple to just main deck a little bit of spot removal. You know, you can main deck the Dimensional Banisher Foos or the Mass Sand. It's not very hard to do, especially if you're only dedicating 2 slots into it as kind of like your overall utility. So the Vegeto may end up being strictly better going forward. I would assume that would be the case. I can't say that for certain though, because I think they both do have their pros and cons. But I think we're in a game that it's very, very easy to tech in spot removal in the form of your overwhelm cards. I think awe-inspiring Vegeto might just be the way to go in the future. But yeah, both very, very good cards at staving off aggro. One of the biggest problems though is in any other deck that's not the Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku leader, one of your biggest problems is going to be getting a turn 4 viably. You know, not being at like 1-2 or a 1-2 life or dead. So that's another issue you have to kind of play around with. But I think they're both very good options to stave off the aggro in this format. I think they're both very, very good cards. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about these cards. Let me know what you guys think which one's better, which one's better suited in the meta currently, which one will be better suited in the meta coming up. Let me know what you guys think about this video. If you enjoy this type of video, please let me know. I really enjoy making these kinds of videos for you guys. I hope that they're very helpful. I've gotten some good feedback on them, but please let me know if you like these kinds of videos or not. Give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, consider subscribing so I can continue bringing you guys videos like this that talk about certain cards and card choices in the meta. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. This is Joey from CrossFit TCG, and I'll see you next time.